I think it's time to start. So we're going to start on time. Looks like a few people probably wander in because I think they stayed up too late last night. They had too good a time. So first of all, I'd like to welcome everybody here and thank you for coming. My name's Janice Abel, and I'm an analyst with ARC Advisory Group. And you can read my profiles on the, just to save some time, on the app. So one thing is, I don't have the clicker. What did I do with the clicker? Oh, it's up here. So we do ask you to mute your phone, and I think when we get to the second half, we have two presentations. When we get if Rodney's doing the robot, I don't know if he cares if you have your phones on or not. He'll tell you, I think, that we may have to turn off the phones. But so I want you to think about some of the questions for the panel while you're going through the presentations. And we have two terrific case studies today. So, and also, please rate the sessions. That's a nice number. And so I had two poll questions, but I decided just to save some time and not use them today, if that's okay. I'd like to know the answers, but my presentation is really meant to be very high level, and we have two excellent speakers that I'm sure that's where you're here for. The first one's going to talk about exploration and production and what he's doing on the wells and how he's optimizing some of the information that he's getting. And the second one is going to talk about how they're using the robotics in the energy industry. And the interesting part about this is, for me, this is a new emerging application in the process industries. We're seeing it in other industries like the discrete industry, but not as much in the process. So that's why I think this is a very interesting presentation. And we'll discuss advanced analytics, and we're going to discuss a little bit about artificial intelligence and robotics. And so we ask that you hold the questions to the end, and we'll have some other experts joining us today from several other companies. We have Seek, who is one of the tools that you're going to see, and also Microsoft is going to be on the panel as well. Okay, the clicker is not clicking. Hey, the clicker isn't working. I'm pushing, it's not. Okay, there it is. Okay. So one of the things is just a definition, a simple definition. We've all been hearing about analytics, and the thing about analytics is it's still the same analytics that in my age it was about the interpretation of meaningful patterns using statistics and mathematics. But today, there's really an increasing and a broader use of the term, and it's come to mean these advanced analytic tools that really get manufacturing intelligence. So that's kind of the thing that sometimes I think people find confusing. So I do think that the term is changing, and the meaning will be much broader in the future. So there's a number of drivers, and these drivers include everything that you've been seeing throughout the forum, like the IoT, having more flexibility and improving production, new platforms, and I'll mention a little bit about the platforms. You mentioned that yesterday as well, and newer connectivity standards, like we have in the open process automation meeting today, as well as new analytic tools. So, moving. Okay. The number one, and this was from Supply Chain magazine, the number one thing that they said was going to, and this is more in the discrete, but the discrete tends to follow. Sometimes the process industry is ahead, sometimes the discrete. And in this case, I think the discrete may be ahead in that number one transformative technology with an impact on the industry is analytics. And I believe that is going to be the impact on the production industry from everything I've been seeing as well. And then the other one that they said was advanced robotics. So anyway, I like the slide because that's what I'm talking about, is the analytics and advanced robotics. So the clicker is not working, just so you know. And I need it working. Anyway, just real quickly, the one thing that I noticed is that in manufacturing, at least in the US, that as the robotics use goes up, the jobs are coming down. So they are starting to it improves labor costs, obviously, and so they are starting to replace people. Okay, this is like one of the worst clickers I've ever had for a very interactive presentation. So anyway, some of the disruptive technology areas with the greatest impact, I believe, are going to be in the predictive analytics and machine learning that you're going to see, and in the advanced robotics. And there's other factors and challenges too as well that go along with these. And some of these are about the analytics technology and the tool that you use in, and the cases will talk a little bit about that. And also the way that you prepare the data, and we talked a lot about that yesterday with the cleansing of the data and the contextualization, how important that is. And also the time and the scalability, and then some use cases, and around getting real-time. The important thing is getting real-time data really fast in a lot of these cases so that you can make an actionable decision. And what I consider real-time is that you have the data in enough time to complete the action that you're doing. So what do users want? Well, one of the things is these open platforms. They are more important because it's how you get the data. And most of them have some way of ingesting the data. They have a data storage. They do some type of analytics, which is a lot of activity in there. And they have a visualization. A lot of the tools you'll see today do have that capabilities. And they also have ways to get insights from that data. And so that's the part that's really important. And they're also using cloud and edge. We're seeing that. And yesterday, in the last couple of days, in fact, in the other competing session here, there's these platforms, like the one we saw from Namur, and they're trying to merge it with the open process automation, and they're working with that group. There's also a number of tools that have platforms that we're going to see in this session and what they're doing. And that includes the Pi system components. You'll see that the robot's actually using Pi. Trying to click to the next one. It's really taking its time. And we also have the Seek, which is a tool. And the interesting thing about Seek is that they have a number of, you can see that they have the APIs to most of the major process companies, and as well as the SQL and other connections. So you'll see some of that today as well. And then also we're going to have Microsoft on the panel, and they have platforms as well for taking the data. And in fact, we're going to see that today in how they're doing that. Oops. I've never seen it. I'm going to go back one. Okay. So the thing about I hope this gets better. I think we might need a new clicker, but one of the things about the advanced analytics is that it's really tools that empower you. And you need to visualize the data, you need to analyze and transform it into a format that you can use easily. And it's really about getting insights quickly. And that's really what people are looking at. And that's what users want. So there's a lot of benefits. I'm not going to go through these. You've been seeing them. You go to see them in the case study. And the things that we've been seeing is there's a lot around asset management, asset maintenance, and predictive analytics to predict something to prevent downtime. But we're also seeing things in the area of reducing reports, process variability. We saw the one earlier this week where the guy has gotten his reports down by using analytics on fault lines from 30 days to 1 day, and that's like a 261,000 savings. We saw some really great examples yesterday with huge savings, like in the 40% savings and things like this. So that adds up to a lot of dollars, and it's in the millions, a lot of these cases that we're seeing, and some multi-millions. And that's really on the bottom line. And so what I see is in the future, a lot of these are going to be collaborative analytics. We'll see that as we move into the future. And it's all about reducing costs, increasing value, and giving you people competitive advantage. So the evolution starts and it aligns, and we're going from things like that were conceptual only a few years in the 60s, which is, I don't want to age myself, that's when I grew up. And they had the Jetsons, and we just thought about these things. We never really saw them. And I remember after I got out of school, I went to chemical engineering, I started going in plants, and I was like, I thought they were really automated. I really got in for a surprise. There was a lot of manual processes, and a lot more manual than I thought. I'm trying to click again, but evidently the clicker's slow response. I got a whole bunch of these, so I got to click. Okay. So then we saw Star Wars in the 80s. We all remember them, I hope. And then we go into the more recent Star Wars. You get into and I was disappointed. I thought they'd have newer technology. They had the old chips and everything else. So I thought they'd have something that we hadn't thought of yet. But we're seeing lights out manufacturing. We're seeing the autonomous driverless cars. So there is a future where people just, one person runs the plant, basically. And then the last one we're going to see today, which is the robot and how they're using that in the process industry. So just really quickly, and I would go quicker, except I can't click. Artificial intelligence is really computers that apply or imitate the intelligence of the human mind. And that's really what we're looking at in artificial intelligence. There's a lot of definitions out there. There's a lot of new little products that you can try, and they are using artificial intelligence. I have an Echo, and then, of course, I had Siri on my phone first, and I had Echo. I tried that out. And they have trouble with the R's, the Boston accent. Like Siri, I'll ask it. Let me tell you this. I'll say, can I call Bob Brooks? And it'll give me Bob Groff. So I get two totally different, and I know it's the R's that they're not picking up on from the Boston, because the way I enunciate things. And so it's a lot about grammatical and all those other things. So anyway, I just got myself a little Google Mini, sits beside my desk, because I ask questions like, what's the weather today? What's the weather in Florida? So I knew what to wear. And so then it said, I asked it, so what do you think of Apple's new HomePod? And the answer was, I'm excited that Siri is getting away her very own home. And then she said something like, I'd like to get her a housewarming gift, maybe a puppy. So, I mean, there's some things that are pre-programmed, obviously, so it's interesting. But there's a lot of different forms. I'm not going to go through all these definitions. You can read them. You'll get the slides. But these are all subtypes of AI. When you talk about artificial intelligence, which is really about learning in the mind and how you learn. And there's people you talk about here about deep learning, and you'll hear chatbot. You'll have natural language processing, which is like these little chatbots like Siri and Google Mini and the Echo. And you'll see the robot, which is a chatbot. It uses natural language processing. It uses a combination of these different types of analytics, but it also combines the body with the mind. You'll see that too. So that's pretty interesting, I think. So it's really ultimately about solving the problem. And you'll see that there's a lot of problems that are being solved, and there's a lot of things that are happening in the industry. And if I can click to the next slide. Okay, so this was really interesting. I saw this on Twitter, actually. Social media said, they were trying to evaluate how the different cognitive thinking for the facial expression. So how do you tell the difference between the muffin and the chihuahua? So how many chihuahuas do you think you see? Okay, how many say what? Quick? So yeah, there's 16 photos, but there's 18 chihuahuas. He's right. So that's it. See, there's 2 in the bottom that have doubles. You guys are quick. It's a quick audience for the morning. Okay, so just finishing up here, a lot of the benefits from robotics is you get 22% better for repeatable tasks. So, and maybe it's even higher today. You reduce error rates by 21%. And so a lot of it's around the labor costs. In the past, it was around repetitive things, but today it learns, and it can do things that aren't as repetitive, and that's the beauty of machine learning. And they're saying that in 2020, there'll be 10 humans to 1 robot, and then in 2050, it's going to be 1 human to 10 robots. So it should be an interesting future for us, but I do think the future is now, and these things are happening, and people are starting to use these, and it is having a lot of benefits for them. So anyway, thank you very much. And what I'd like to do is introduce the first speaker, who is Charles Lame, and he was good enough to come. He's from Pioneer Natural Resources, and I think he's going to give a terrific presentation. Thank you very much.